Joining me today, and today is June 1st, 2018, and it's time for Astrology in the News. And of course, I always like to try to start these out with Yogic Wisdom of the Day. Everybody's like, yay, it's back! When you own your breath, nobody can steal your peace. And nobody with bad breath gets their peace stolen. Get it? Probably not. Like, ooh, boo, bad joke. All right. So going on with the cast here, Trump pardons DSouza here. Okay, this one I was actually surprised on. So I actually ran DSouza's chart, and I don't have an exact birth time here. Where's my bar down there? Hold on a second. Gone with you. People are like, dude, this guy doesn't know how to use Windows. All right, well, you know what? You could deal with the taskbar. All right, so looking at DSouza's chart here, don't have an exact birth time for him, but he was actually born in India, and I did not know that. So taking a look at his chart here, he's right in the middle of his Rahu Dasha. Probably, of course, if you don't know the exact date or time of somebody's birth, that probably takes about 6 months either way away from the Dasha cycle. So it's very difficult to make very solid predictions with somebody when you don't know the actual time of birth. But if you do have a good transit, you can use that as a substitute. So anyway, yes, he's got Moon and Rahu and Pluto all in the sign of Leo, which we're going to use as the first house, which means he's all about me, 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 right? And so yeah, that's just kind of the way Leos are. They're really, and it's not like they're always narcissistic people. It's just you got to think of the way that Leo functions. It is the home sign of the sun, and what does the sun represent? The sun represents the ego. So really, one of the primary motivating factors for a Leo is going to be ego validation. So sometimes and the opposite is true with Cancer, as you see his Mars and Uranus are there. The cancers need emotional validation. So you can kind of see, and that's because cancer's ruled by the moon. And so you see this dichotomy of emotion versus ego, sun versus moon. So you can see how these archetypes actually play out in the sign by the planet that rules it. So let's see, what else has he got going in his chart? Okay, so we got Saturn and Jupiter here conjunct in the sign of Capricorn. Saturn in Capricorn is strong. It's actually one of the best placements for Saturn. I think it's actually probably number 3 on the list, but Saturn is actually ruled by, or Capricorn is actually ruled by Saturn. So when a planet's actually in a sign that it rules, it gains strength. And so being conjunct Jupiter here, so the interesting thing is Saturn's in a good position. Jupiter is not. His Jupiter is actually debilitated. So somebody with a debilitated Jupiter generally has questionable ethics. And if you've seen D'Souza, he actually did go to jail for it was actually for campaign finance violations, which isn't that serious a charge. So sometimes what you tend to see here in this combination is, especially with Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn, is the ends justify the means. And Capricorn's really about not causes, but really about solid foundation. So we have a solid foundational conservative here, but he's willing to get his point across by any means necessary. Okay, and that's kind of a little bit of an exaggeration, but this is also too in the 6th house, so it could show somebody that has a lot of enemies. So Saturn tends to show victory over enemies, and I'm kind of attributing this to the pardon. So even though he got thrown in the can, he got pardoned later. So in the end, he kind of won. Whether you agree with it or not, you can actually see this stuff play out in the chart here. Now, Venus is exalted, but it's retrograde, and I did look it up. This actually behaves as a debilitated Venus. So whenever you have a planet retrograde in a sign of exaltation or debilitation, it has the opposite results. And I actually didn't know this until about a couple of weeks ago. I always thought that a retrograde exalted planet behaves like an exalted planet. And so I kind of questioned that a little bit, because a debilitated Venus is somebody that doesn't really have a lot of strong conviction, and they don't really pour their heart into things. And I don't really see that in D'Souza. So I really doubt that this is actually a debilitated Venus. It actually seems to be functioning as an exalted Venus. And also, two people that have exalted Venuses in the sign of Pisces tend to actually go into film production. Okay, and then also too, he has an exalted Sun in the sign of Aries conjunct to Mercury. So when you get these two together, you can have a lot of aggressive communication of ideas, but it tends to show leadership too. So I don't think Dinesh D'Souza is in charge. Let's see what. Oh, he was a campaign. Actually, I don't know. I'm trying to think of actually what his political career is, but I can't think of if he was. I don't think he was actually in a leadership position. But either way, if you have your Sun in Aries and Mars, or your ascendant is in Aries, really you're built for leadership. The only other sign that I see like that is Leo, in some ways Capricorn too, because Capricorns are pretty grounded in the way that they're thinking, and usually grounded thinking is a sign of a good leader. All right, moving on. So, all right, I'm going to put this prediction out there. The EU will be radically changed by 2020. And boy, do I have the astrological evidence to back that up. We actually have a triple whammy here. And when you see that many indications, you can make a pretty solid prediction. Originally, I was going to peg this to like 2024, but there's actually going to be a conjunction going on here in a transit actually in the EU birth chart that I'm going to point out. So let's start out with the birth chart. So this is, I pulled this for 1993, and it was in Brussels, Belgium. I forgot the date off the top of my head here, but if you take a look here, I want you to pay close attention to the sun, okay? You have the sun here in the sign of Sagittarius. It's also conjunct Uranus, Mercury, and Neptune. All of these planets are in very, very close proximity. The second thing that I want you to note here is look at the dasha sequence. Actually, the EU is going to be going into the sun dasha probably within 4 or 5 months. I would say a little bit sooner than this. The reason why I say that is I actually pulled up the chart for noon on the day. We don't actually have a time for the birth of the EU, so I just use the day. So this could be off by probably about not too much, probably about 5 months either ways, but I'm going to say it's probably going to happen earlier. So take a look at this. This is the transit chart of the EU. So I want you to pay particular attention down here in the sign of Sagittarius. So if you take a look, we have the planet Saturn here, and what it's doing is it's slowly creeping up on the sun here, and also too, let's see, Neptune is also there. So actually they founded the EU and then the Sun and Neptune were conjunct, which can sometimes show deceit in leadership. But check this out too. Pluto is transiting the natal sun of the EU. What is Pluto? Destruction and upheaval. So I was actually going to give this the benefit of the doubt for its transit through the rest of the sign of Sagittarius. But the fact that Saturn is going to be creeping up here and conjuncting the sun at the same time that Pluto is there, this is a pretty solid prediction that the EU is going to break up. I'm actually giving this probably an 80 to 85% chance that this is going to happen, because this is probably one of the strongest indicators that you can find in Vedic astrology that says, yeah, something bad is going to happen, or something destructive. Now, if the United States had its sun there too, I'd be like, oh my God, there's going to be some sort of, oh my God, no, it's going to be, oh my God, there's going to be some sort of breakup of the United States government. And now here, really with the EU, this is very strong. So just to review that, if you want to make a really solid prediction in Vedic astrology, if you have a transit, not a transit, a transit in conjunction with the second one is the Vimshatori Dasha chart that I showed, you can be pretty confident that whatever you predict is going to come to pass. Next, this is my other prediction. Trump tariffs will cause correction this summer. I'm actually feeling pretty confident about this one because I think when Mars starts going retrograde, we're going to start seeing a fall in the economy. And I think that's going to be a direct result of the tariffs that Trump is going to impose on other countries. I don't think it's going to be a major dip in the economy. It's going to be significant enough. But, you have to keep a couple things in mind. First of all, the stock market's been a bull market now for quite a long time. I know we did have a dip last year, but I mean, really, if we're talking about corrected value, the stock market at some point needs to correct itself to around the 17,000 mark to really compensate for all the money that the Fed dumped into it. So I personally think that stocks are way overvalued right now. And I really think that Trump's tariffs are going to kick in an economic correction. So if you take a look at the United States chart here, one of the things that we got going on here in the second house of the United States, which actually, Pluto's actually getting creeping up on here. I was talking about the dissolution of the United States. Now, I'm not predicting a dissolution, but the United States is almost in a Pluto return here. We're probably about 4 or 5 years away from that. By the time that this happens, the United States government will be restructured. What do I mean by that? I mean that there's probably going to have to be some sort of the debt restructuring, and we're going to have to deal with, or we will be dealing with, those social programs being bankrupt, like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. I think that Trump's finally going to address this. However, in the second house here of the United States, in the sign of Capricorn, which is the sign of money, you have this Mars Ketu conjunction. So what's going to be happening is Mars is going to be working its way. No, this is almost like right on the. This is already on the United States natal K2. Wow, there's so much going on. Oh, also too, we have an opposition to the ascendant. Wow. All right, so what's going to be happening is Mars is going to be conjuncting this natal K2 here in about 3 weeks' time. So really, July and August are the months that we want to keep an eye on. There's going to be a lot of economic chaos, and by chaos, I mean market correction. So all right, I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. If you want to go ahead and book a consultation, the links are on the first page. Otherwise, you can send me an email on nobigsecretsyoga.com. And thank you again for watching my No Big Secrets Yoga and Astrology video blog. Have a great day.